Hi everyone, I'm Lori. Welcome back to Milkweeds and Roses Gardener. Well, here we are in high summer, which is what the British would probably call that time period between early July to mid-September, you know, the hottest time of year. It's that time of year where things can finally start to look good, finally start to take off, or they can actually take a turn for the worse. I've had a little bit of both right here in my Zone 5B garden in Iowa. Let's take a look how things are doing, and maybe you can certainly relate. Let's start off in my rose garden. Here we go. Couple updates here as of mid-August to get us into the fall and hopefully next spring. Some of the things I'm looking at here, because this is a pretty dry bed because of the overhang here that stops the rain from getting near the foundation of the garage. However, since it's south facing, it gets lots of sun. So I decided to put in a rose garden. First few years it was just roses. But then I soon realized that roses grow best when they have companion plantings. Not to mention it's visually a lot more interesting. So I do have a couple of annuals in here, but mostly a variety of perennials. And I'm always adding to it if it improves it. Some things come up on their own, like this datura, which I have to keep trimmed, and I have to always watch for the seed pods. See these little things that form right here, spiky balls of seed, tons of seed that drop and proliferate, and they will grow anywhere they drop. Oh, here's an example right here. So no rabbits, no squinnies. Deer don't even touch these, probably because they're toxic, but they smell wonderful and they love full sun. Although I tend to see that they'll grow just about anywhere. I have Niobe clematis here in the corner, which is kind of taken off again, which seems kind of nice. We'll see if she gets a second bloom. I don't know. That is my peony, which I replanted. Al's Choice, which has not chosen to bloom just yet, but you know, the foliage looks pretty decent, all things considered. Stand By Me clematis has been blooming since like June. Just one flush after another, and even the seed pods are kind of, afterwards, are kind of fascinating. But new blooms waiting to come up on that one, so that seems kind of nice. My Stokesia, Bluestone Aster, foliage looks good, but I don't know if that is going to bloom yet this year, but it is a perennial, so we'll see if it comes up. Various dianthus, which smell great, also rabbit resistant. This one tends to be an annual for me, but I like the pretty blue flowers that come up nonetheless. So just pincushion flower. Lady in Red. This bloom has gone over, but still smells great, bright red. Foliage is handsome, and it doesn't seem to be bothered by pests. I have Quicksilver here, which was devastated by sawfly in the early spring, but it now appears to have come out of it. She's had a couple of blooms, and she's got some new growth coming up. And another bloom that will soon come, so she's gorgeous. Louise Clements here. Not real prolific bloomer, but soft peachy blooms when they do come up. I love them, so we'll see how they go. Oh, careful there, girl. I don't want her to, it looked a little uncomfortable. I don't know what's going on there. So anyway, I have to keep an eye on her. This unnamed white rose is super pretty. It has, well, no, really, no fragrance. The blooms when they first open are tiny, barely a blush of pink, and they age to the sort of spiky blooms here. They curl up. But this one doesn't seem to be bothered by Japanese beetles or any other type of pest. Sawfly in the very beginning, and you can see the remnants of that down in there, but really seem to be black spot resistant, and just blooms all summer long. I believe I have a skyfall clematis trying to come up through here. I don't see any blooms yet, but she'll come. Now this is an annual, just gomphrena, various colors which I've put in there, also rabbit resistant. There's another stochisia, color wheel. It did bloom earlier, and we'll see if it comes back. It's barely hardy in this zone, so maybe it will, maybe it won't. That's always a bit of a cobble. I have cat's pajamas growing here, which I trimmed it down once. This should be its like third bloom that will come back, and of course pollinators just love it. There's a delphinium back there, which hasn't bloomed yet, along with some tall bearded iris. Foliage looks interesting, adds something a little bit different here. This is just an annual, Amandavila, which is nice when the flowers are open. It was pretty dried out when I bought it and covered in, well, I treated it for spider mites even though I didn't see what was going on with it, but it didn't seem real healthy. I think it had just gotten root bound in the pot and dried out. So I've seen a couple hummingbirds on this, so I don't know. A hardy mum, which should bloom red. You see the little buds on here? Just hasn't happened yet. I have a baptisia back in here. Decadence vanilla. No blooms, nothing going on, but the foliage is interesting. Various salvias. Salvias have always been good for me here because it's dry and tons of sun, so they tend to do pretty well. I planted, this is a new addition, Princess Alexandra of Kent. Looks like it's already got a bud on her, so I'm kind of surprised by that, but okay, that's all right. Along with Princess Margaret, I think it's Crown Princess Margareta. 2 David Austin roses here, keep the princesses together. So it had to protect from rabbits because rabbits went after her, and she was transplanted from my northwest garden. Just too much root competition, wasn't doing well, struggling, so I've put her here in the rose garden and we'll see how she does. Another new addition just today, Rock and Round Pure Joy Sedum, because again I'm hoping this won't be too much of a thug. Soft pink blooms, and the scent of which I hope to keep away, help rabbits keep away from my poor lilies that just never bloomed, never had a chance. They've been chewed down to the nubbins. But with enough penstemon and salvia and sedum, maybe they'll mask the scent of plants that they are going after. That's the hope anyway. And this was the Fall Flopsy's hard prune, was the penstemon. And so she's starting to reflush. She's got all kinds of new buds and new growth. And really probably gets too much water here from our in-ground sprinkler system, which is meant for the grass, but it comes over here, and that's what kind of causes penstemon and salvias to do the flopsies. So we'll see how that works. This is another bloom, a third bloom actually, for my favorite rose, of which I do not know the name, but I love it. This was planted probably 6-7 years ago. She's gorgeous, and also kind of resistant to Japanese beetles. I've noticed the red ones tend to be a little more resistant. Does have some slight white striping on the outer petals, and opens up some pretty yellow stamens, a nice open bloom when she finally does. Not really prolific, and there's very little of any scent, but she is just my favorite because she keeps coming back, and her foliage, which had some soft light in the spring, but is doing well now, so I always appreciate that. And there's another, let's see, I'm gonna have to tie this in because the wind really keeps them flopping. So I did do some tie-ins here, you'll notice, but when the winds pick up, that's really hard, all that rocking, really hard on the stems. I don't want them to break. So we have meant to be Queen Nectarine here, I believe, that I planted last year. I actually need to trim this down because although it looks good, I think Most of the pollen has gone over for pollinators, and she will get a second bloom if I keep her going. That's why some of these newer blooms down on the bottom, I see some bees coming for, so that's nice. Yet another, I'm on a roll here, unnamed rose. It used to have a tag, but it has been knocked out long ago, so another pretty. I noticed the red ones, not bothered by Japanese beetles, but a lot of that could be just proximity to the Agastaki here. And the clematis, which I also really like. This is a Montana grandiflora clematis, which hasn't bloomed yet, but again, this is a fall, a late, supposed to be a type 3 clematis, I believe, so they'll be prolific and bloom a little bit later, but she was a little late to get started, so I was taking off here and wrapping her way around this rose. They sort of support each other, so that's what we've got here. This was tiger lilies, which even though the blooms are gone, I keep the stalks up so they continue to feed the bulbs down below, and I'll cut those down in late fall. I have another salvia here, which should be ready to go, but ready for its second bloom. I also edited this one. We have a lot of different things here which haven't bloomed yet, or I've had to edit them down to increase blooms or give them a second round. I had some showy milkweed here which had completely flopped onto the ground, and it is a real aphid magnet, but aphids are gone. I put down some biologicals, which is kind of beneficial insectary. I don't know if you can see this. Yeah, can you see it? There we go. Anyway, which go after aphids, and I would say that it works. I don't see a single little yellow dot on here, so they've hatched and gone after them, and all is well, which is kind of nice. I have my, a little late to stake this one up, but I have staked up my dahlia here now, at least. So she's looking good. She needed some help like a month ago, but hopefully she'll snap out of it. It got a lot of buds on there, so I think it'll be all right. I've planted some marigolds in here. Every time the blooms go over, I just pop them off and snap some more in the ground, so that is the hope. My aster, I've had to cage from the rabbit that likes to hang out here. Thought maybe I'd catch her in the act. I don't see her now, but maybe she's moved on. There was a young rabbit back there that was eating that aster, not helping it out any. And this was my big project, which I did just 2 days ago, this week. And I had to do this before all of the buds started to open up, because this is my sweet autumn clematis, just starting, full of buds, but just starting to open. And once they do, this thing is covered in bees. So my Teresa Bonet rose has gotten more than 12 feet tall and needed to be trained horizontally here over the arbor. And again, another one of those jobs I should have done a while ago. But man, this heat and this rain, she just took off on me, got so tall so fast. So I've pinned a lot of her in here to the trellis, where she will stay until spring, along with the remaining foliage here of my sweet autumn clematis after it blooms. And then I clean this up in late winter, early spring, the clematis that is, because it's a type 3 clematis that blooms on new wood. So you can clean that up in the early spring or winter, and that will be fine. But in the meantime, I've got the Teresa Bonet trained here now a little more horizontally onto the top, and the flowers are gonna take off any minute now. They're starting. And again, a stake up job here with the helenium. Another thing that probably should have been done about 2 weeks ago, because as the lawnmower folks came by, they clipped her. Yeah, not good. Looks like she's had surgery, and I'm not a good surgeon. But I've staked her up, and she's still alive, and tried to put a little metal guard here. It was in place, but they missed it, I guess. So anyway, yeah, they nearly severed her, so I've staked her back up. And this is also a nice little dahlia, Aztec Veracruz dahlia, Aztec Veracruz. So pretty. Taken off. Doing well so far. Along with my tall garden phlox, which smells wonderful. And I have some more Heleniums in here that have been staked up and propped up with the help of Teresa Brunet. So they kind of stay in place there. There's some others you can see I need to probably deadhead, but there are some blooms that will grow in here, so I'm keeping track to see how that does. She just continues to bloom until frost, really. So training this girl onto the fence. The girls do not disappoint. So yeah, I like this. I like this look, and that's doing exactly what I had intended. At first I tried to just have Teresa Brunet go over the top, but you know, really she doesn't reach this height until late summer. And then at most, even training her over to the top of the arbor, she can get halfway. But I wanted this enclosed roof or tunnel of blooms, and so far I've only been able to get that with Sweet Autumn Clematis. So she does not disappoint. Yes, you have to stay on top of it. Can't just let her go and let her go year after year after year, or you will get a mess. So, but I do like what she's doing. And in fact, she's even helping me to conceal these ugly garden or our garage steps here. So that's an urn that I planted early this spring. I just keep putting new things in just to keep some color going. But yeah, this will be nice, beautifully scented when she's starting to bloom. I bet within a week. This next week it's going to be a string of 80s and low 90s, and I think she's just going to pop then, which will be great. So always big jobs to do. And this was my other big job that I put in. Man, I tell you what, had to dig a hole a couple feet deep, put in quick dry cement in with the post, and put in this 100-foot retractable hose, which I just got. No, this is not an endorsement. I paid for this, you know, not a big deal, but I've tried so many different things here, stringing a heavy garden hose across the yard and knocking or beheading flowers in the meantime. This was the garden hose that I had before, and this thing is a beast. It's heavy, it's hard to roll up and unroll, and yeah, no thanks. So I just wanted to try something else, and so far so good. Yeah, not a problem. So to be continued. But then I just put some river rock here. I have some reblooming tall bearded iris, which have only had one bloom, not two, but who's counting? Okay. So, and this is my Sweet Autumn Clematis, the root system here, which this looks kind of interesting, but you know, when they talk about keeping the roots cool, at first I had a lot of dieback and I couldn't figure out what was going on, and I realized it's just getting blazing sun right at the roots. So this was a broken pot that I've had for a couple years, and just put those right at the root ball, added more mulch, and then popped in a daylily, which was originally where I put the hose reel. And this was, it'd probably been there probably 20 years and had gotten so root bound in that space that it really didn't bloom anymore. So I took that out, split it up, and put half of it here and half of it over by my arbor. So the thought is this gets tall enough with the foliage to provide shade for this clematis. And she has indeed done a lot better since then. All kinds of new growth, young growth continues. So she's a doer. But yeah, she did need to have her roots shaded, and it was just blazing afternoon sun here, which wasn't helping anybody. So that's what we have going on. Yeah, but I'm I'm really happy. And this is gonna smell great and look great when everything takes off in bloom. So I, for one, am excited. Things are looking pretty good so far for late summer. More things to do, more projects underway, of course. It seems like there's always projects underway, but in fact, my wish list involves, oh, hello, see, when the sedum starts to bloom, the bees are all over it. So this is gonna be a bee hangout between the clematis and this autumn joy, which has been here forever. But this sedum, I have divided this a little bit because it is, again, it gets too much fertilizer splash and rain intended for the lawn, but that's what makes sedum leggy and floppy. And so just some of it is, I mean, eventually you'll have to maybe move that, I don't know. But I also added this sedum. It's Rock and Grow from Proven Winners Midnight Velvet Sedum. So I just love the darker foliage. I do want to mask this somehow. This big ugly thing, good Lord. It feels like it's all I can see when I look at the south end of my garden is this industrial air conditioner, which I love, by the way. This is also not an endorsement, but yes, I would like plants. I would prefer plants to at least conceal it or pull the focus away a little bit, but it needs to allow access in case it ever needs to get serviced. So that means not an actual structure. My husband would have a cow about that one. So I just need something that, you know, maybe could grow even halfway here to take the focus off a little bit, because right now all I see is this big ugly thing. So yeah, when I look this direction, that's kind of all I see. There's so many other things going on right now. Some of my containers are looking good. You know, some of the others could use a refresh. Again, the work continues. I mean, that's what gardening is. You're never really done, are you? My cosmos are starting to bloom. Just keep them deadheaded. And they'll bloom. They need a little bit of support here from the bush, so they've got that. So that works well. But so far, so good. I've transplanted a couple of hostas back in here in my hosta garden, because again, the idea is I just want to see a sea of different colors of green, an occasional color maybe by a pot, but you know, I don't want to have to look out here and see wood mulch. And I see a lot of wood mulch. It also helps if there are a lot of plants in here to soak up the rains, which tend to just a lot of water moving down in here. And it's just can be kind of destructive. Here are some transplanted, here in the corner, some transplanted hostas that came from the north garden, the upper north garden. They were frying in the sun, but look at them here now. Even blooming. So it's like they didn't even notice they were moved at all, except that they're got a lot more moisture and they're not getting fried by the sun. So it's all good. It is all good. And again, the hummingbirds I see coming up to the blooms of this hosta. Yeah, I have some, I got some slug damage. But you know, that's just part of it. From a distance, it looks great, but you know, lots of color. That's what I'm aiming for. A variety of leaf textures, leaf types. But this is my shade garden. Oh, and this, by the way, used to be a trivet that one of my big containers sat on a patio, and the wheels rusted out and broke. So I just used a bolt cutter and cut the wheels off, spray painted it, and put it on the fence. Obviously, I had 2 of those. They were rusted, and like I said, the wheels didn't allow it to move anymore. But I always liked that pattern. And here in the garden, the blue is kind of my little pop of color that I use throughout, in case you've noticed. Blue, blue. To draw the eye all the way around. Blue, 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 and pink, and blue. A lot of blues. Okay, that is this one. Yeah, that's potatoes. So that's not gonna stay there, but you know, again, shades of blue. Oh, and look, my Tangutica is getting ready for a second flush of blooms. Maybe even more impressive than the first. So I trimmed her back a little bit because she was getting a little rambunctious, and she has rewarded me with all new buds. See, this is what they'll look like when they're open. Gorgeous. Hello, darling. And then look at all these little buds, all these little tiny little lanterns of sunshine, just waiting to open, waiting to open. Something to look forward to. Always something to look forward to. I'll keep you posted. On that note, work continues for all of our pollinators as well, so that's the kind of stuff that always makes me feel good. All right. Well, thanks for joining me. I hope that your garden is green and growing, and that you are keeping the pollinators happy as well. I just want to say thanks for joining me, and I will see you soon.